Hi, thank you for joining us on this premiere edition of the show that we call Unfiltered. Let me give you a few things very, very quickly. You know, we have 3 shows running online. Let me tell you the differences in the shows. The first is the KSM show. And the KSM show is all about my guest. I try to shut up so that I listen. I've invited people and I want to listen to them. The KSM show is about the guest. Then I have another show called Talk Shop. And that one is just me. You know, carrying on ranting is me, no guest at all. And that is TS, Talk Shop. I've just introduced this new one, and it's called Unfiltered. And Unfiltered because we are going to tell things and unveil things, and it's not just me. The difference this time is I have a guest, and unlike the KSM show where everything is about the guest, in Unfiltered is the guest and I bantering. We chat, we discuss, we debate, we agree, we disagree. That is what Unfiltered is all about. No filters. Anyway, today I'm very, very happy to have a guest, my first guest for Unfiltered. And this is a young guy. You know, at my age, everybody's a young guy, trust me. You know, this is a young guy, very dynamic guy. He was on TV. We saw him as a child star. He was on Home Sweet Home, I think. He was called Junior. But in the meantime, in between time, he's gone. He studied. He's now a full-fledged businessman. He has his doctorate. He studied at Oxford. And he's going to join me today. He was a child star. We used to watch him on TV. You know, the reason he's here today that we're going to be featuring him on Unfiltered is because he has a position on Essien, that jailed banker that we have started a petition for his freedom. He has a position on it, and I want to have a chat with him. That's why he's my first guest for Unfiltered. But before I talk to him, I want you to take a look at him when he was a childhood star on Home Sweet Home. Take a look at this.
Yo, you look familiar, huh?
You're new around here, aren't you?
Hells yeah, but you look familiar. What school?
Hey, you forget about school, man. I'm a mess when it comes to school.
Okay, we're back. Junior, that was you on Home Sweet Home.
That was me in the young days.
In the young days.
I've actually not heard anyone refer to me as a young man for quite. My wife definitely doesn't call me a young man. It's nice to hear that.
Oh, you're a young man.
Yeah.
You know, you get to a certain age, you'll be a young man.
Oh, yes. So a relatively young man.
Relatively young. But it's good to have you here.
No. Thank you so much for having me.
And I appreciate the fact that you have also taken it upon yourself that this is an innocent man.
100%.
100% innocent. And folks, pardon me, people came at me quite angrily, and I'm sure you too.
Yeah.
You know, when I first did the show and I said I was asking for clemency, people came at me. One guy said, KSM, I respect you. I followed you all this time, but every time you're on point, but this one day I beg, leave it alone. You know, so it was good for me when I heard and saw you, a clip of you, talking about the same thing. I said, oh, it's not just me. You know, there are other people who know that Essien is not guilty.
Yeah.
Give me your point before we continue.
Yes, thanks, KSM. I think my premise is just coming from the facts. And a lot of the time, when I see the insults or the people who disagree with it, they are not basing it on the facts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, base it on the facts that we have at hand. You know, if someone is being tried for a specific crime, let your arguments be based for that specific crime.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care if Essien crossed a red light 5 years ago or 8 years ago. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is that what is the person in prison for? And looking at the facts, it just didn't balance out. You know, and like I told you, I'm one who usually doesn't like to speak. Although I've been on TV in the past, you see the only account I have is on LinkedIn.
So you're not a social media buff.
I have a Twitter account that I set up in 2020. I have like, I think 15 followers. I've never posted. I have a Facebook account that I set up about 20 years ago or so. Last time I posted was maybe 10 years ago to say thank you for birthday wishes that people that put, but definitely no new pictures or anything of that sort. You know, so I've not been interested in that part, but I think I've always had a passion for justice, for equality, for human rights. And that's why when I was invited to join the board of the Human Rights Office for the Commonwealth, I accepted because I always had a passion for it. My first job linked to that was probably as a community organizer on the streets of London. So I have a passion for it. But this story or this evidence really hit a nerve and awakened that part of me that had been dormant for quite a while.
Yeah. Everybody has been consumed with the fact that this man is guilty, he's chopped money, that seems to be the chorus. What was it about this that actually forced you or triggered you to, let me look further into this? Because the news was out there. The man is corrupt, he's chopped money, he's in jail. That was the news. What was it that triggered you to look at least a step deeper to find out?
Yes. KSM, for me, I think I was ashamed of the fact that I had made a judgment on Essien, who I didn't know. I'd made a judgment based on what I'd read.
Didn't we all? But go ahead.
Yes. Because as soon as you even Google him now, Google Essien now, the first thing that will come up is he stole 90 million, jailed for 90 million theft. And in some accounts, it even says about how from Bank of Ghana, they had jute bags and they came to take out cash, And that was the narrative I believed as well, until a few months ago, when I actually saw the evidence, which is public knowledge, is available for anyone who wants to see in the public domain. And I realized that, to start off with, there was no theft. The 90 million people talk about, we didn't even understand where that 90 million was conjured from. But to start off with, there was no theft. We always hear Yemomo liquidity support. They were given liquidity support. I thought liquidity support was free taxpayers' money. Taxes you have paid, I have paid, other people have paid. Taxes that can build roads, buy blood for hospitals, buy medicines for young people or older people. I thought that free money, liquidity support, was that free money. Not only did I realize that it was a loan, a commercial loan, 28% commercial loan that the Bank of Ghana gave to the Capital Bank. Apart from that, it was fully collateralized, meaning that at no point in time would there have been a loss to the state. And this loan was being repaid 14 million Ghana cedis without default. And until Capital Bank was actually collapsed, they had paid back 308 million cedis out of that loan. No one told me that. So that was the first falsehood. It was a complete fictional tale. Complete fictional tale. Liquidity support was a commercial loan, which was fully collateralized. That was the first one. The second one was, if you look at the judgments and you look at the evidence, it showed that the third accused, who was accused for 27.5 million cedis, was acquitted. That was the MD of the bank. So he was acquitted of making 27.5 million cedis to Essien. But he was acquitted in court, which meant that the court saw the payment to be a valid payment. Finder's fee, facilitator's fee, agreement,
so just to be clear, the 27 million was a finder's fee.
It was a finder's fee.
The commission,
which is about 4 or 5% of the amount of the loan that Essien had arranged for Capital Bank, with Bank of Ghana. And contrary to popular opinion, Bank of Ghana did not approach Capital Bank. I'm told Capital Bank approached, or Essien approached Bank of Ghana to make this loan available. And he earned a finder's fee for which the MD of the bank was acquitted for making the payment. But check this out, KSM. That same 27.5 million cedis is why Atu Essien is currently in prison, because he was charged for receiving the same amount of money that the MD was acquitted for paying. And for me, it didn't make sense. I'm not the greatest in math, but the equation does not balance. We were taught as kids that what happens on the left has to happen on the right. This didn't balance. How does the payer be acquitted of paying that same sum, but the recipient be charged with receiving that same sum? 27.5 million. So that is the reason why Atu Essien is in jail. And the sad part is, no one ever says even Atu Essien stole 27.5 million. They always say 90 million. Why? Because that 27.5
90 million is the figure that's banded out there. Yeah.
Because that 27.5 that they said he illegally got, which we believe to be a legal fee, 300% interest was added to it.
To the 27.
To the 27.5 million. 300% was added to that to make it 62.5 million Ghana cedis. Add the two together, you get the 90 million. So it's being bandied around that he's stolen 90 million. No one ever explains that, to start off with, when you say someone has stolen or there's a theft, you have to provide evidence of that theft. This was a finder's fee for an amount. And besides it being the finder's fee, you've added interest of 300% to make it 90 million. Who does that? 300% on a legally earned fee. And even if you say that Atu was wrong to accept that amount of money, fine, you're within reason. He paid that back. Plus
the money was paid back?
Plus another 16 million. By the time Atu went in, he had paid back 43 million Ghana cedis. So if you're saying he's caused loss to the state, that he shouldn't have received a commission, which is legal, is in contract, everyone who does business or is the middleman, even Momo agents pick up commissions. Call it finder's fee, commission, referral fee. The nomenclature might be different, but the meaning is the same. He picked up legally earned commission for being the one. And I was giving someone who was arguing me an example, and I was like, is it about the figure, or is it about the actual reason behind him receiving that money? You know, because a lot of the time people look at the amount. Yeah. So if it was 1 CD, will you have been happy? If it was 10 CD, will you have been happy? Is it about the amount, or is it about the principle behind it? Because if it's just about the amount behind it, which most people are, then you're wrong. Because charities in the UK and the US, their CEOs earn more than the Prime Minister of the UK or the President of the United States. NGOs, some of their CEOs earn millions of dollars a year. Why? Because of the value they are bringing. It's a supply and demand. The value they are bringing to that transaction is what dictates how much they are paid for stuff. But the sad part, KSM, is that amidst all the insults that you're getting and I'm getting, and you're getting more insults than I am, and it's because your anointing is more than mine is.
It goes with the turf, right?
It goes with the turf. You know, people don't even sit back to open up their minds and say, let me actually listen to the facts and let me try to make my own judgment. They just, it's like, since when are we not our brother's keepers?
Yeah. And one of the people that came at me to sort of bash said, even the guy himself made a plea bargain. And in the plea bargain, once you make a plea bargain, it's an admission of guilt, you know. Not exactly, you know. Plea bargain, sometimes you're doing it because hoping that you can get a reduced sentence or whatever. But the point is this, Junior. Even, and I don't want to mention the name of his lawyer, but his lawyers were said, no, do not do a plea bargain.
100%.
Because you haven't committed crime here. When you plea bargain, it may be misconstrued as you admitting, you know, and that is why he's languishing in jail. because he went ahead and did a plea bargain against his lawyer's advice, So I think it's okay to understand that. Look, if you're on the road and the bus rears off the road and is coming to hit you, and you say, "Oh, I have the right of way. I am in the right of way. So if the bus is coming to hit me, I won't move because I have the right of way." You're calling for death because the bus has veered off. It's coming to hit you. So at that point, you don't thinking right of way. And I'm thinking maybe that's what Hato is thinking, okay, let me do a plea bargain so I don't go to jail,
KSM, that's an excellent analogy, because what you do is you jump out of the way of the bus and take the number plates of the bus and report the bus to the police. Because if you stay there and it hits you and you die and there's no CCTV or there's no one around, that's it.
Yeah.
You don't live to fight another day. And people don't realize that when you're scared or angry or hungry, or you're depressed, the decisions you can take.
Yes.
And they don't know what has been promised you that is not on the table. None of us were there. It's only Atu who can answer it, because we never know what Apea, or maybe he was told, "Oh, just do this and then you can go home." We don't know what happened. But we can only speak to facts. But the facts don't add up. It doesn't make sense. Because he had excellent lawyers. And I know they were very peeved that he accepted that plea bargain. And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes he himself knows he made.
Yeah.
Because if he had stuck to his guns, now his case would have been stronger.
Yes.
Because that's what people are trying to go on, that. Why did he admit guilt? But what they don't realize is that when he started off as not guilty. From the beginning, he said, "I am not guilty."
Yeah.
What circumstances made him change that plea?
Yeah.
That is what people have to understand.
Yeah.
That there must have been something that happened that only he was privy to.
So sad.
Completely sad. Completely sad for a young entrepreneur who started things, founded a bank, from savings alone, from I think microfinance to savings alone.
The story is so sad because the amount of time that he put in, the effort he put in, that at 29, you're able to evolve into starting a bank, and then it all ends this way, like you're now a criminal. And the sad part of this is that while at in Swam, he had a very bad fall, and we all know this, injured his back, big spinal problem, he's in a wheelchair, he can't even walk. All because money that came to him was legal. But it's been presented to us Ghanaians as and we don't take our time to filter through this. And what somebody also told me, KSM, you come on the radio or the TV and you're talking about you support oral, all the loot should be recovered. Now somebody has looted and you are saying he should be forgiven. Please, I just want to make this clear. There is no way I will support any looting. If you've looted Ghana's money, yes, do your time, go to jail. But it is not the same thing here. There was not, as it were, looting. Monies were paid him that were legal. If you don't want to make that legal anymore, then change the law. That from now on, no more commission should be paid on anything we do, and then we know it is illegal. But if it is legal, and he collects that commission, and the authority that pays the money is okay, but for receiving it, he's in jail.
That doesn't make sense. Yeah, and people pick on different points. They're like, "Oh, there's issues with the governance of the bank."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Show us the evidence. Number one. 2, is that what Atu was charged for? First, I don't believe there's the evidence. But secondly, even if there was, is that what he was being charged for? Concentrate on what the charge is. Recognize that there was a first accused for 70 million, acquitted. Second accused, 130 million, acquitted. Third accused, 27.5 million, acquitted. So the board has been acquitted. The board has been exonerated. For instance, the Daily Guide newspaper had the headline, Atu Essien is a scapegoat. And how does that create a can of worms? There is no can. There are no worms. No one is trying to say, point the finger at someone else. We're just saying he's a scapegoat of this justice system, which has got things wrong. Not that he's a scapegoat, so someone else has to blame. All the other people accused jointly and severally who represent the board have been acquitted. So why are people looking for someone to nail?
That's the thing.
It's taxpayers' money, fine with BOG, but it's a loan that has been given. Liquidity support is not free money.
Yeah.
It's a loan that is being paid with interest. So if a loan of 200 million was given out and 300 or 400 million is paid back, it's actually beneficial to us. Because that extra 200 million, if it's used properly, we've made a profit on the loan that we've given to the private sector.
Yeah.
But people don't sit down and go through the facts.
No. I think it's sad. You know, we get to the point where sometimes we allow emotions to take over reasoning. And I think this situation is one of them, because some of the people that wrote to me and were telling me to back off, these are people I respect. These are people that are decent. These are people that normally I know evaluate critically.
Yeah.
You know, but when it came to this case, KSM, we respect you, but this one, back off. You know, people are suffering, they are not going to hospital, and one person is chopping 90 million. So there was a lot of emotions in this, and nobody sat down to unpack the issues like you're doing now. You know, so and that sadly is what he's suffering for. And again, I guess his frustration and everything to avoid jail and doing a plea bargain is what has resulted in this.
But KSM, sorry for cutting him, but it's such a pleasure to have elder statesmen like you actually backing this cause. You know, yesterday I had a meeting with another elder statesman. I think I told you about some of the people I was going to meet who said, support this young man. You know, someone who ordinarily you think that person with the most critical. Yeah. You know, and that is what gives us the fire in our belly to keep on going. Because you read some of the comments and you're like, is this the Ghana I know? Yeah. Is this the Ghana that people go to church on Sundays and go and pray and say, our Father who art in heaven? Yeah. Is this people that we know that are not giving someone a chance to explain themselves? You know, people sometimes make mistakes, fine. But what if something has been put on someone and we're finding out that the case is not as we know? At which point do you give a chance to say that, hey, let's listen out. What are the facts? Maybe did we make a mistake? That for me was the Ghana I know. Yeah. And I'm so disappointed and broken seeing some of the comments flying around. Very disheartening. Yeah. It is extremely disheartening, and like you said, people like us, we've had it and we've been bashed. So there are some things that we let it roll off our back, and hopefully make sure that we keep the focus, you know, and the focus is that this man does not have to be in jail. You know, I mean, I can understand emotions. Hey, 27 million, you know, but that's not the issue. It's not about the amount. It's supposed to be about the principle. It's the principle. Yeah. And the principle is wrong, and nobody should be receiving fees for break the law. But in the absence of that, and where no law has been broken, what is emotional attachment? And people are, and what surprises me is the level of, is it anger? That don't even go there. Why shouldn't I go there? Maybe there's something I have seen that gives me reasonable doubt. Am I not entitled to reasonable doubt? 100%. 100%. I was telling my mom yesterday that for me, I love reading the comment sections, the insults, as long as they are not insulting me about my hair. Because they actually raise a lot of valid questions.
Yes.
That makes me go back to the drawing table to say, okay, did I miss something?
Yeah.
Because in the same way I came from being extremely judgmental, and I've turned into Barnabas 2, because you're Barnabas 1. You know, the same way I use that to learn, to see that, okay, this is what people are angry about.
Yes.
Did I miss something? Have I made a mistake myself? Because I'm always reevaluating and going back to the drawing board, so that if I've made a mistake, I'll be the first one with my hands up and say, okay, you know, because my thing is, I'm coming from a point of empathy and sympathy. I started off from a point of sympathy when I saw Atu in a wheelchair. The Atu I'd seen on TV and I'd heard about was vibrant and all that kind of stuff. The Atu I saw in prison was broken. His eyes were empty and he was in a wheelchair. So I started off from a point of sympathy until I saw the evidence. And now I came from the point of empathy. So I'm coming from both. Sympathy, yes, clemency. Empathy, still clemency. But let's recognize that what he's being charged for, there has been a miscarriage of justice. There has been a travesty of justice. That is empathy. Empathy means it could be you, it could be me. Today is a businessman, tomorrow it could be a journalist. The following day it could be a politician. The following day it could even be a president or an ex-president. That is the point we're coming from empathy. And I said once on one radio show that there's a Yoruba term called Lagbaja. It was one of my favorite artists in the 90s. I think I'm showing my age that I'm not that young. But Lagbaja wore a mask. And his mask meant he represented nobody, anybody, somebody, everybody. That is what the term Lagbaja means. And for me,
go over it again. What? Nobody.
Lagbaja, nobody, anybody, everybody, somebody. So it's the faceless person. Which for me, when people are talking about, so why are you only protecting the rich? Atu Essien is not rich anymore. Atu Essien is in prison without money to defend himself. Atu Essien is now Lagbaja. Atu Essien is every convict who's been wrongly accused sitting in Essien prison. If through him a lens is placed on mistakes that have happened, that is not bad. That is actually a good thing. You know.
And to pick up on what you're saying, because you're very right. Reading the comments, that's what people are asking me. But do you know how many people have suffered because they couldn't? They are in jail and they don't have access to. You know, why is it because he was rich and it was a big shot? You're picking him, but do you know how many other people? And they ask me, and it is true. There are probably several people languishing in jails who are sick, who are, for whatever reason, unable to be themselves because of ailments. It is true, you know. So, like you're saying, this can happen to anybody. But the fact that it has happened to Atu, and we're using that as a case to mount our plea, it should not end there. It should actually open the door so that we go further. So don't have a problem that I have picked or we have picked Atu to talk about. Just hope that, okay, now you're finished with this. What next? What do you do? How do we see the bigger picture in all of this? I think that's a more of a reasonable agenda to tell us to pursue than say, don't go there at all. You know,
Atu was the only evidence I've ever seen.
Thank you.
It's the first evidence I've seen. That's why it's the first one that I'm wearing my human rights hat on and I'm actually attacking. But because of this, I've pledged to begin an open justice portal that anyone who has a case, and I'll be very happy to come here and actually launch it with you, that anyone who's been wrongfully convicted, send your evidence to us. Get your lawyers or get your family members to send your evidence to us. And if we think your evidence is strong, we'll put together a team of pro bono lawyers. You will not pay a dime. That would actually fight your case, because this has
Yeah.
showed us that there's
Yeah.
a bigger
Yeah.
problem. But
Yeah.
Atu, as he is now, he might have been rich before, but Atu is an ordinary man just like us, ordinary like everyone else. When we all die, we don't have a U-Haul van following our hearses.
Yeah.
We take nothing. We're all ordinary men. It's just in death you see how ordinary we all are. In prison, you see how ordinary everyone is.
Yeah.
No one is above the law. No one should be beneath the law. Everyone is ordinary. But ordinary people can do extraordinary things. And that is what Atu is doing now whilst he's in prison.
Yeah.
He's an ordinary man,
Yeah.
but we're hoping that this charge is able to do extraordinary things,
Yeah.
to change the narrative of so
Yeah.
many people.
Yeah. For me, I was so glad when I saw a clip of you advocating, and I was like, thank God, it's not just me thinking things. People actually are on the same page with me. Because I remember somebody who called me and was like, we know it's an agenda. We know that you and Dr. Apea. And I said, but who's Dr. Apea? Honestly, at that time, I didn't know who Dr. Apea was, but I said, so there's a Dr. Apea who is also advocating the same way I'm doing, then that's great. I mean, I would love to meet that Dr. Apea. So now we are sitting together. And it reminds me of a movie I watched some time ago. I think this movie was A Few Good Men. And it was starring Jack Nicholson. And he was talking about the need that sometimes you need people to be vigilant, to sit on the wall to make sure things are right. And people don't understand when people are doing that. But he said a line in the movie, he says, you need me on the wall. You want me on the wall, and I'll sit on the wall. This is something that people, come at me, come at Dr. Apea now, But unfortunately, in the unfortunate event that your cousin, your mother, your father, your brother, your friend, you also get into a situation where injustice is staring you in the face, I'm sure you'll be thinking, oh, where's KSM and where's Dr. Apea? So we are going to remain on the wall and make sure that justice is served. And it's not just for Ato, by the way.
100%.
It's not just for Ato. It's for anybody who is in that state. I'm sure people will be telling me so many names now that I've said this. My uncle, my niece, my dad.
Yeah.
So fine. I'm glad that these things are opening our eyes and the doors to understand that these things are happening. But it must stop. So anyway, I was happy that they said you and Dr. Apea, there's an agenda. You have to brief me on the agenda though, because I still don't. I honestly don't know the agenda. Maybe you know then.
I don't know. When it came about, I was like, that's the first time I heard of it. That like on radio, you say Yesimu agenda. Agenda. Which agenda? Maybe it's the agenda we were talking about. Agenda 111.
That's a good agenda if we can carry it through. Anyway.
I was like, what agenda? Because when you say agenda, it makes it sound so negative.
So
like we're planning something, clandestine, plotting something. That's not anything. And like you said, for me, I'm open to fight for everyone. This is not about politics. This is not about a person. This is about Ghanaians as citizens. Yeah. It's about the nation Ghana. So for me, if I see the evidence, I don't care whether you're PPP, CPP, MPP, NDC, any PP. If your evidence is strong, and you've been wrongly convicted or maligned, and I can add my voice to it, I'll happily do it. Because that proverb that you see your brother's beard on fire, take water and put it next to yours.
It can happen to anybody.
It can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody.
And on this note, folks, let me say, under the comment section, you see a link to the petition that we have come up with, that let's free Essien. Please sign the petition. We want as many signatures as possible. Sign, and let's make sure that the right thing happens.
Yeah. And KSM, this morning I was on the petition page.
Okay.
It's doing excellent, Ian. I was trying to find out the quickest way that people can get to it, and just because it's on the internet and stuff, and they can't click directly,
Yes.
unless they are maybe using their phones. If they go to change.org,
Okay.
and go to search, then put free Atu Essien. Once you click that, the page will come up. So I tried.
Change.org, Atu Essien.
Yes, go to
Please
search.
repeat that again so that people
So you
understand.
go to www.change.org. Once it opens the page, the landing page, go to search. You see search, I think it's in the top right. Click on the search, and in it put free Atu Essien. And the page that KSM created will actually pop up, and then you sign the petition.
Please do.
And share it.
Sign, and share it. You know, it's, oh man. I remember when I saw him at 37, and he was actually telling me that when he was fed admitted, it was so bad. So he actually stood up to show me, and he said something quite. He says, "Okay, Sam, thanks to the Lord, things are improving. And now I can let me show you how I walk." And he actually stood up. Folks, bear me 1 second. Okay. And folks, that's the way he was walking. And the amazing thing for me was he said, "Thank God, things have been getting better. I couldn't walk like this." So I said, "So this is an improvement?" You know, that's when at that time, all I was thinking, oh, there must be clemency. You know?
Yeah.
And at that time, my whole thing was on health.
Yeah.
You know, until other factors started coming up, you know, listening to you at the reading, and I realized it's not just the health. The actual case and the foundation of the case
There's some flaws in it.
was a flaw.
There's
You know?
a flaw. Yeah.
And I can bet that if he had not, unfortunately, making that mistake to take a plea bargain, he wouldn't be inside now. And that's why, understandably, his lawyers got very upset. So you shouldn't have done that.
Because you hire the lawyers to defend you.
Yes.
And trust them that they'll do a good job.
Yes.
So by doing that, you're making them feel they didn't know what they were doing. With all this evidence. Yeah, it's a mistake I think he will regret.
So the lawyers trust me. In conversations with him, I know he has regretted the decision, and I hope the lawyers also find it in their heart to say, yeah, you didn't listen to us, but we forgive you. Let's move on.
And even my conversations with him, KSM, when I brought that up, he said, "John, when you speak to my lawyers, tell them I apologize."
Wow.
Yeah, he actually asked me to apologize
To the lawyers.
to the lawyers.
Wow. And this just demonstrates the extent to which he has realized his flaw of making that plea bargain against the lawyer's advice. But anyway, we hope that the lawyers, they are lawyers, they know the law. It can hurt for you to hire me to do your work, and then you go and do a plea bargain, and like, I don't know what I'm doing. So whoever the lawyers are, he begs. He's actually asking for forgiveness. He made a mistake, and sadly paying for it. You know, that if you see him, you understand. And like I said, it's not just the health thing. It's a bigger picture of a flawed decision, which unfortunately his lawyers were not put in a position to go after and defend. Anyway, Junior, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, and it's a pleasure. And we have had some discussions before this, and I think it's amazing the plans that you have on how best we can escalate this to get attention to a certain level that you're doing tirelessly and relentlessly. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. It's good to meet people. They take other people's situation where there's injustice to heart. I'm glad you're on the wall, man.
Happy to be on the wall with you.
Stay on the wall.
We will be on the wall. I hope the foundation on the wall is not flawed.
That the wall must be stable.
Yeah.
Because we are going to be on the wall for a long time. Yeah. Your final words.
I'm on the wall with you, KSM.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for. I don't know if I would have had the strength that I have, not because I think you're one of the most vocal people that I've seen on this issue. Because the most painful thing for me is seeing the lack of support.
Yeah.
You know, where you're trying to get to particular places and everyone is asking you for money. Pay this before I give you this, pay that. And you're thinking, this is a human rights issue. This could be your father or your brother or your friend, you know. And where does money come into this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that is the saddest thing. But I'm really appreciative. All the time when I was on TV as a child star, I wanted to be on your show because you had a special handshake. And
oh, yeah?
we can do it. Okay.
1, 2, 3, and then fist bump.
So I finally did it. I always wanted to do it, but I thought I'll come here as an actor or being in the film business, but there's no worthier course than being your brother's keeper and thinking about someone else beyond yourself, which I have done for the past 20 years, just thinking about myself. So very happy to be here. God bless you for all your work.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the wall. Stay on the wall, and I'll make sure the foundation of the wall is strong.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Folks, this was Unfiltered, and I am extremely honored to have as my first guest Essien, somebody I was enjoying on TV as a little boy who was grown into an academician, a business person, and a very, very intelligent person, joining me here to fight the same cause. And those of you out there, let's say this again. We have to remain on the wall. Somebody has to sit on the wall. We are on the wall. You need us on the wall, and you know how to reach us. So let me say, for now, this is our first edition of Unfiltered. And once again, Junior Apea, Dr. Junior Apea, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Catch up with you soon.